Hello and welcome to episode 69 of Let's Talk Tactics. I'm your host, Zach Brown,
I am Daniel Boone.
and we are joined this week by Isvar. Isvar, how are you doing?
I am doing well. Thank you very much for having me.
So, Isvar is a longtime member of the top 100 CM players, and also now a member of my guild. So, we want to hop you in here, get your opinion on a few of the recent class matches, some of the new releases. I know you are a monofire person, so I was a little hesitant to have you on here, but we decided that it was best for the podcast if we did. So um, we're gonna start. We're gonna talk about. There's only a couple of releases this week, so we'll talk about those first. But before we do that, first, actually, we do have to do learn a little bit about you. So tell us about your history with the Final Fantasy franchise. How you got into War of the Visions, and also once you were playing War of the Visions, how you sort of got used or got into the live PvP mode.
Yeah. So, like many people who are in War of the Visions, my first Final Fantasy game was Tactics. Right after Tactics, I went into Final Fantasy VIII, and then I went backwards to Final Fantasy IV.
Oh wow, okay.
Those three remain my favorites. 6 is obviously amazing, and I like most of the Final Fantasies because most of them are great.
Good answer.
Got into
Yeah, right.
right.
Make everyone
But
happy.
Tactics 4 and 8 hold a special place in my heart because they're both good and nostalgic. As far as getting into War of the Visions itself, I play FF14, so when the game released, it was a tactics style game with an FF14 collab going on. I was like, let's get in here. So I got into it, and at that time, the game did not really grab me because I'm assuming because Class Match did not exist yet.
Sure.
And I just kind of logged in every now and then and did whatever. And I was playing other games. And by the time that the second Tactics collab came around with Agrius and Delita, I was like, okay, this game has been sitting on my phone for a long time. I'm just going to log in, do pulls with the resources that I have. If I get Agrius or Sid, I will continue to play the game. And with my last pull, I got Agrius.
There you go.
So I was like, all right, let's play the game. And from then on, I played the video game. As far as getting into Class Match, I don't remember if I was in the first one, but I played, I think, 1 or 2 on that first map, the map that we just had for CM.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, ever since, like, it was like nerves and everything when you first start out, but ever since then, I've just, every class match I go in because to me, it's the most fun part of the game, right?
Of course, yeah.
If
I think we all agree.
right, on the live PvP podcast. But if live PvP did not exist, I would probably not be playing the game still. But the amount of depth and the actual fun having playing that mode and the ability to express your account on an individual level, just live PvP is great, and I've been hooked on it since that first class match.
Did you play many like friendly matches or what's it called, the free matches before jumping in, or was CM like your first live PvP experience?
Nope, I just walked straight into CS.
Just diving right in. Oh man, do you remember how you did in that first class match? Like, did you do well, or was it kind of like
okay,
a lot of learning?
right? I didn't do amazing, but yeah, there was a lot of it's been 30 seconds, and then you lose your turn and do nothing.
Hey, at least you knew you could get 30 seconds. Like that's the first step, right?
Right. That is the first step. There was me realizing that battle-wise on Sid was a better passive than the samurai one because you could get an extra jump to go over the middle. There was a lot of that, but yeah, I mean, that was my first live PvP. I didn't do any free match, and I still do not do a lot of free match because of how I feel about differing rule sets and what I prepare for. Like, if I'm going to be playing live PvP, I'd prefer to scrim with somebody based on an agreed upon rule set. Wherein, like, in free match, I do not begrudge anybody using any tactics that are allowed by the free match rule set. I just know that usually those tactics are not available during class match.
So you don't want to deal with double quicken and Keenblade? Is that what you're saying?
Well, listen. If it's a double quicken map, then the entire way I think about the match changes, and my entire like build process for that team changes.
Right.
If I'm going into free match, it's anything. So and it's fine. It's fun, but first of all, the queues are often horrible and nobody's playing in there. But secondly, like it's only so instructive as to
Right.
what I'm going to be actually facing in class match.
Yeah, and I think honestly, I'm definitely in the same boat. I barely do free matches, and we are kind of at a point now where the people who want to do like the practicing will just find friendly matches in the live PvP Discord. I mean, our guild has a ton of people active for live PvP, so like we have other sources to find matches like that. So it's like it's not worth waiting for the matches in free match because of you can't practice certain rule set. People will do whatever it takes to win, which is fine in free match, like you said, with no rules. Yeah, it's kind of. Yeah, free match is a weird place.
There are people, and like some of them are probably listening right now that play a lot in free match.
Right.
And you'll hear stories about them like matching up against the same guy multiple times, and then that guy changes their name to "You suck."
You suck. I actually haven't heard that story. But that's funny.
No, that happened. Like they change it. Like I forget who it was, but it's like he kept fighting the same guy, and then that guy changed their name to their in-game username sucks.
There's always like a go to bed Zenith or like stop
go to
playing
bed
Myra or like
I want to hear Vinny go against somebody who he just keeps beating like some obvious whale, and he'll just put free to play, by the way, just to taunt them. Oh man. All right, so we will get back into a little bit of the CM talk in a short bit, but we just want to kind of touch on the things that came out this week because I know Esther's kind of a big topic right now. I think a lot of people are really happy with her kit, or at least theoretically with her kit. And then Lucio also got a little thing today. So talk about Lucio real quick. As far as I'm aware, all he got was his job 25 skill. It's a good one, but I think that's the only change. Am I correct? Yeah. So he got his skill Radiant Nova. Badass name. I wonder what the animation looks like. I wonder if it is like some kind of like nuclear blast from his sword. But
you can't take the place of LBs. It can't be like that big,
right. That grand. Yeah. So it's a range 3, range height 1, AoE 1. It's that giant burst AoE for some reason from a sword user. Like what the hell? But 2 uses, 34 AP. Medium damage, 165. But the effect, not a chance, but the effect is just decreased bravery 30. I don't know if people remember back in the day trying to use bravery skills. They were like the Dragoon skills, like 25% chance to like reduce bravery by 20 or something, or like it wasn't even that much. Or was it 50? Was it more?
I think it was 25.
It doesn't matter. It never hits.
Yeah.
I literally, I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again. I had a friend when he started playing the game. It was Brian. He's on the podcast before. I want to show him the chicken status. Because I told him about it. He's like, that sounds hilarious. Let's go into a match. He put all 3 of his units in a line. I had 3 Dragoon units using that skill. It says 25%, but I used all 9 charges across 3 of my characters. Not a single chicken. Like, we did it twice. Like, repeatable. Like, I just kept on doing it. I could never hit it enough to make it happen. So to have something now that's guaranteed to get rid of a third of your bravery just blows my mind as like a day 1 player. Well, day 3 player, but whatever. I just, we were saying before the podcast, I want to quicken him and just like minus 60 bravery people and try to get the chickens. Like, it's so impactful to get rid of bravery, because I'm pretty sure also, right, it affects your physical damage output, physical scaling. It affects your reaction chances if they are physical based. Like, it's insane. How do you guys feel? Do you feel similarly, Daniel?
I mean, it's kind of like a 2-hit punch, like 1-2 to the face. Like, it's not just the fact that it's a straight chance to decrease bravery, but the burst AoE is just like it wouldn't be that impactful if it was like a single target attack,
exactly,
or even like a cross AoE. But the fact that it has such a huge range, like the chances of hitting more than one unit is pretty good. And like you said, like if you can quicken him into like getting it off twice, like it's just a huge impact to the live match. And yeah, it's just crazy.
Isvar, what are you thinking about it?
2 thoughts on this. One is I'm surprised that we have not gotten more bravery or faith reducing effects on bruisers or tanks.
Oh man.
on bruisers or tanks, right? Because this is a far more effective damage mitigation offensive tool than the attack and magic breaks that you normally see, right? Because that's only based on your base stats and it really doesn't affect your damage that much. But if you're lowering bravery, that's a real thing.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
30% after like everything has been calculated, and then you multiply
right.
by bravery. So it's like, or 1 plus bravery, or whatever it is.
And then
It's
second thought on
huge.
this is it's good, right? It's good. And what it makes me think of is I used a lot of Rob after EX, and Rob's 120 skill is the same AoE with same mod, but just has an extra crit chance.
Yeah.
And really, like this ability is just it's the only thing Lucio was missing, right? Was a big AoE. He's got basically everything else. So Lucio, strongest 80 cost in the game, just got a ton of stuff going for him. He's great.
Strongest 80 cost in the game. That is
He,
a
it's
bold statement.
very likely. I mean, you think about the amount of stuff that has been tacked onto this guy,
It's
the
true. He
element
does have
he's
everything.
in, the element he's in, his master ability that goes with any team composition, like
He's got a defense break.
defense
He's got
break,
like a
multi-hit,
agi.
3 different types.
And
Just
now obviously the LB in peril.
yep.
The bravery reduction now.
Barrier
He
break,
has a reduced
resistances,
reduced
buffs.
counter chance. Like that's kind of like a new kind of effect we see on abilities.
No, he really does have just about everything. Even for Daniel, he can count down people. He can
Thank you.
put on Doom.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then I mean, even Paladin, he's got his own barrier plus things like Sentinel. You know, he is a very insane unit. He's very stacked. I'm glad he is like the free unit, kind of like he's almost like the
Yes.
face of War of the Visions now. I feel like because
Like Mont
everybody
used to
gets
be.
to do it. Yeah, exactly. He's the is it like Mont's like successor or something? Because we're going into like the
Yep.
Warrior of the Crystals lore away from like the Leonis. I feel like, but
He's actually
Lucio's
a
like
more sorry.
oh yeah, Lucio's the best thing they've done for new players.
for sure.
Agreed. And he's actually I feel like he has a more compelling story than Mont does. Like I like for somebody that's been playing since day one and like who's been really like I'm always about like the integrity of the story and like in any game, right? And like you know I've enjoyed the War of the Vision story. It's one of the things that's kept me playing besides live PvP. But I think Lucio's character and his personality is more compelling for some reason. It's hard to put my finger on it.
He annoyed me a little bit though. He was a little whiny
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
beginning. I think he's getting a little better now, but
They have to
he
make him
definitely
like that.
right. He's the little sniveling newbie, and then he's working his way up there.
Like you can't always be a badass, and like it's takes away from like the growth and development of the
Yeah, I suppose.
character.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. Let him earn his arrogance. But all right, Daniel, would you like to take us into Esther?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, Esther's the bunny girl. I don't know if anybody's
Bunny,
familiar.
the Esther
From
bunny,
from Brave Exvius.
the Easter bunny. Yeah.
Esther, oh my god.
We got it.
Yeah, so yet another global 100 cost unit. It's actually surprising to me that she only has base move 3, base jump 1. I would have expected something like 3-2 or at least,
Because
or
she's a
like, you
bunny.
know, like Lock just randomly has 3-3, and it's like,
Do you mean because she's a bunny?
I mean,
More
yeah,
jump.
but also like
Okay.
she's supposed to be like all about like mobility and like zipping around the battlefield and shit. So I think she's gonna struggle with having that base jump of 1. Obviously, you know, that remains to be seen. But like with anybody that has base jump 1, like that's always a consideration, right? Like, do I have like a nimble movement buff or do I have to use Katone's DMR or something? Anyways, so her jobs are precursor, that's her unique job, and she gets paladin and thief. She uses great swords and she has hat, cloth, and accessory proficiencies for armor.
Oh, I didn't
Um,
realize she's hat cloth greatsword.
yeah,
Oh, that's
Yep.
super interesting. Okay, I did not realize that. I just kind of assumed. Makes sense from her appearance and
right.
her like TMR and stuff, but yeah. Huh.
War Division says that she's not limited, but she is limited. It's the global exclusive. So I mean, just like I was gonna say Isvar, just like Ibarra and Elena and the rest, like um, there you have limited chances to get them if you're a new player. So her accessory, her TMR is accessory called Storm Bunny Hood. I'm feeling a little underwhelmed by this. The stats on it are it's 168 HP. That's it's average, I suppose. 6 defense and 6 agility. I think the 6 agility is the most important thing for this TMR in terms of like you don't really see 6 agility. You see like a 7 on Bells and Lucia's TMR. You see like 5 or 4 or something. So it's for people that are trying to agi-tune, it's an interesting number to note. The ability on the TMR is called Extreme Charge. I mean, it's a cool name, but it doesn't really seem that impactful. What it does is increases defense debuff resistance by up to 100 for 3 turns, and a cross AoE centered on her. So she has to run up to the rest of the party if she wants to make sure to get everyone in there. And she also increases crit rate by up to 30 for her allies as well. It's 2 casts, 28 TP cost, so it's a decent like AP builder. But really, the defense debuff resistance, it's not as impactful as say accuracy up or agility like we've seen. Even like a lightning attack up or something would have been more useful, I think, for her to make this like really compelling. Especially because of like her cost and how much people may have invested in her at this point. But she does depend a lot on crit rate, so that's decent. Like the 30 crit rate for herself and allies is pretty useful. Her master ability is she gets the party buff for lightning allies, HP 10%, lightning attack 15. For herself, she gets 10% HP and she gets slash and pierce res 10%. So that's really useful. You're already starting to see how she can be built for like a bruiser role. Getting into the rest of her stats. Speaking of the bruiser role, I'd have to go into the builder to see exactly how much like HP she has total. But it is significant. Actually, I'm going to do that right now because I like to cover the base agility as well.
I think for the new units, they have the correct values at the bottom, right? The little summary.
Yeah. So yeah, 4732 total HP at level 120. That's pretty high. Um, for somebody that's not really meant to be a tank, I think. She has Taunting Blade, so she can act like that, but you probably don't want to have her tanking. Her base agility is 58, and she gets 10 from her board. And anytime I see something crazy like 10 plus, I know that it has to be from like a node, like she gets like 10% agility or something. But it's possible that she just gets it straight from
It's
just plus agility nodes.
eight on the board and 2 on the EX. Yeah.
Yeah. So because I swear I remember her like stat node was like attack plus 20% or something.
Yep.
And her base attack is 415, and that's really notable. She actually ends up with a 572 total attack before any buffs or whatever. Let me switch back to her actual stats. So in terms of resistances, um, really strong in everything but magic, and that's really surprising. This is before her master ability of plus 10 to slash and pierce. She gets 15 to slash, pierce, and striking, 10% resistance to missile, and her weakness to magic is she has minus 15% resistance. So that's kind of in line with the rest of her kit. She's very like physical damage mitigation focused. Status ailment resistances, she gets poison 50% and paralyzed 50%. I like the paralyzed. That kind of goes with her theme. I think like she can't really be paralyzed, but at the same
Can't
time,
be
like you could
stopped.
say the same thing for immobilize or stop or slow.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not really that impactful. Like these aren't really popular status ailments to use, really.
Well,
But
I will
she's
say I think poison is a little more
poison
popular
is kind
now.
of like
Yeah.
coming more on the scene in recent, I guess,
And I think
months.
for her specifically, poison is good because she has courage.
Yeah, so she can't like it's harder to proc poison on her to like
Right.
bypass the whole courage, like
Exactly.
ignoring fatal damage ones. And last but not least, she gets 10% resistance to charm. I don't really expect you to be running her on a full faith build. I would expect to see Esther's at like 50 faith. So the 10%, while it's not like a 25 or a 50, it's still actually pretty useful for her as um, like a unit with less faith. What do you guys think about her stats or resistances?
part of the reason I folded and decided to try to get her, because I love resist tanks, and we do see a lot of like attack type resists these days, but I'm still, you can combine that with barriers and other forms of buffs to still make it impactful, even if they're penetrating, say, 50% of what you've built up. It still has an impact, right? So I was kind of excited to mess around with that. I love bruiser units. The great sword sort of aesthetic is cool too. Kind of wanted a friend for Renan if I wanted to go like into a lightning team, or I honestly have been thinking about like a mixed team with like Velis, Renan, and Esther, and just mess around with that. But yeah, so this was part of why I was really excited about her. She just had crazy high base resists, and we'll deal with the magic attack, but honestly, it's not even as popular as it used to be.
Right.
But
yeah, I agree. Her stat block is one of the main reasons to pull for her, and there's just a whole lot to like about it. Yes, she dies to magic, but that is something you can work around.
sure.
And right, like very much like Prodijee said, she reminds me of the bruisers of old, except just way jacked up on their resistances.
And 68
25%.
agility, like
Yeah, yeah. With thief lore, right? She's got
So
thief lore too.
somebody, somebody, like I don't know, I heard it like just randomly. Someone was like, "Yeah, she's like a Warrior of Light 2.0 or something," and I don't think it's like a Warrior of Light
I don't know
comparable,
about Warrior
but
of Light, no.
yeah, it's because like he's kind of, he had a big impact on the scene for like what he could do as a tank.
It's more like
But
a
she's
Thancred 2.0.
definitely maybe
Yeah,
that's maybe
Thancred. She's a
Thancred
Thancred
2.0.
style unit.
Yeah.
The main
So
difference.
sorry.
The main difference between her and Thancred is Thancred gets massive damage ratios, whereas she gets the ability to penetrate anything.
Yeah. So inevitably the question comes down to like Esther versus Cloud. And I know we have noted these things like since she's been like released or teased. So what do you guys think the biggest differences are between them? And if people still had the chance to like decide whether or not to invest in Esther, like she's obviously still around for a few more days. What do you guys think it's like if somebody already has Cloud or if they don't have Cloud? Obviously it's a no-brainer if they don't have Cloud, but what do you guys think about that?
Should probably go through skills before we start going more holistic, but just my
Yeah.
brief response would be, I mean, Cloud has Sub Ranger, which is huge. Like he gets reflex, barrage,
yeah.
and sharpshoot. Like it's hard to give that up if you only have one slot for some like great sword using lightning unit. I think Cloud has probably higher DPS overall, but I know DPS is not an exact term that works for this game, but you know what I mean.
It's /+.
But
Like,
I think they're
guarantee
different
it.
enough though. Like they are different enough. I feel like you could be happy with either one. You just build
Yeah.
differently depending on which one you have. I don't necessarily think they're a 1-to-1 comparison, even though there's a lot of stuff you can compare between them.
So yeah, I knew you were going to say that, so I wanted to give you the chance to say that before we get into the skills.
Okay. Isvar, what about Isvar, do you have any quick thoughts about Cloud versus her?
Similar thoughts, and JB79 actually put out a video comparing
Yeah,
them as
yeah,
well.
it was a good
but
video.
They are different tools used for different scenarios. They can go on the same team, but I will use Esther in situations that I would never use Cloud in because she is significantly tankier and takes more hits. Cloud is more of a primary damage dealer for your team, and you can build completely around him. Esther, for me at least, she is a bodyguard and enabler for other strategies. And last thing on her stats before we move on, that 10% charm resist we already mentioned with, she's low faith unit, starts with 10% charm resist. With trust stones, she goes up to 35%, right? 35%, and I will probably run her at 30 faith. Very low chance to get steel hearted.
You
That's
don't so the only thing I'll say about 30 faith, and I made this mistake with Joom at first, so I had to put her back up to 50. Are you not going to be hasting, shelling, protecting anything on her?
On the team that I'm currently thinking of for next CM, I don't have anything that would fail.
Oh, actually, wait. So it only matters if she's doing it to herself, right? Because if another unit has 97 and she has 30, that makes up the difference, and you're fine.
Right.
Okay, so actually, I guess it doesn't.
Yeah, and she doesn't have all of her buffs aren't like statuses that need to apply.
Oh, that's fair. All right, I'll have to bring her down.
Even
to
the
30
heal is a set percentage of her HP, not like a drain.
Okay.
All right, so
Interesting.
jumping into her skills.
Yeah, let's go.
So,
Let's get in here.
so we usually start with passives and
Oh
then go
wait,
to
wait. Actually,
reactions.
let's give Vinny real quick. Vinny in the chat mentioned Cloud has access to Keyblade, so he has it because he wears
Yes.
armor versus wearing cloth. That is another difference. So they have access to different TMRs and equipment and stuff depending on which abilities you want.
And the triple slash guaranteed hit and the sharpshoot, like and his awesome buff, soldier, whatever. I think was it the first time we saw like the regain AP on attack, or it was one of the first, I think.
Yeah.
Anyways, so Esther's passives. We're gonna start with Ball Lightning Barrier for her main job passive. Increases defense by 20 for self, increases defense pen by 40, and decreases magic resistance by 8% at max. So it's a little like it reminds me of the soldier um passive.
Self-sacrifice.
Yeah, self-sacrifice. Thank you. Where it's like max of 8% across the board. It's interesting how it just decreases magic resistance, so it doesn't take away from her physical mitigation, like her bruiser aspect. Um, the holiness protection she gets from Paladin is the same we've always seen: defense 12, HP 12. And she gets 2 thief passives, which is weird. I would have expected 2
They
main
always
job
have two.
passives,
They
right?
always have two.
Really? Um,
Every sub job has the exact same passives every time.
So
Yes.
she gets Thief Lore, move 1, add you 12, and acquired AP up, which is probably the one you want to use the least, but there's still niche uses for it. AP up 50%. Over to her reaction skills. She has 2 really similar ones. Static Discharge is one she gets from her main sub job. Paladin's Guard from Paladin. They are pretty much the same thing, so it's kind of rough. Counter physical damage by 20%, reduce physical damage by 45%. So 2 Paladin's Guards, that kind of sucks. Might have looked for a more
That's a
interesting
really
reaction.
weird design choice.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's like
and
Yeah.
then
yeah.
quick action from Thief. We don't really see that get used much anymore, especially if you're running her on bruiser build. So chance to counter damage, 20% chance to increase agi by up to 40% for the next turn. So we're gonna go through all of her main job stuff because this is a new job, the precursor job. So her bread and butter skills that she starts out with, the first is bolting impact. That's a 126 mod, like attack break for 3 turns. That's 43%. That's similar to what we usually see for breaks. Like I think it's like between like 43 and 49 or something. I swear there's weird numbers. The range on it is 3 with the range height of 1. She gets 6 casts of it, and it's 14 AP, so not too bad. And she always, it reminds me almost of like a stun blade, just with the attack break on there instead of the stun. The other one is Overcharged Physique, basically increasing pierce, strike, and missile resistance by up to 15% for herself for 3 turns. That gets upgraded to Storm Guardian with her X buffs, where the pierce, strike, and missile resistance are increased by 20% instead of 15, and she gets the accuracy buff of 30 on top of that. So Storm Guardian,
Part
really like
2
the name.
of why I pulled for it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The fact that it's just like a passive buff, the resistance is up to 20, as well as the accuracy. Like, yeah, it's a really good way to start the match for her. All right, so moving on to her job 7 skills. So bolting slice is a chance, reaction block chance, basically, up to 100, which is nice. Medium damage, 165 mod, increases her own defense by 20 for 3 turns. And it's got this really interesting range. It's kind of reminds me of Tornado from
Mhm.
Oren, but
Energy
it's
buster.
yeah. So Energy Buster, I think, is the best way to describe it. So
Definitely
Oh
energy
it's
buster.
got a,
yeah,
it's got
yeah,
a
yeah.
range of 3, and it's basically like a shotgun, like not a cone, but
It's a
just a blast
block.
forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, block. Um, you don't really see like the reason why I couldn't even think of the like a comparison to the range. Like you don't really ever see like these in this kind of interesting AoEs for it. It's a 3 cast, costs 30 AP, and defense 20. I think. All right, my thoughts aside, magnetic force is the next one. Reduces the physical damage taken by 50% for herself, and increases AoE res by 15 for allies across AoE centered on her. 3 casts, 32 TP. So it's interesting that they tacked on the AoE res to a physical barrier for herself. So I think that's part of what makes her interesting as a global exclusive. You know, they always have these interesting little dynamics. Job 12, she has Bolting Strike, which gets upgraded to Storm Brands. It's single target, a unit resistance break by 20 for 3 turns if it lands on the target. Well, even if it gets evaded, it still applies the unit resistance break. So that's cool. Damage mod 165 plus 30% accuracy for just this skill. And she restores HP by 20% as long as it crits. And it's important to note, I think, that it's not the restore HP. It's kind of like the breathing technique that pugilists get. Forecast 24 AP. So like same cost as like a jamming thrust. The range on it is 2, range height 2. So it's not something you're going to see her being able to use at range, but it's probably one of her best skills in my opinion.
So two comments on this real quick.
Yeah.
I don't want to forget. The first is, you know, she's lightning. She's at mono lightning. The decreased single target resist before hitting is an excellent setup for sharpshoot.
Yeah.
Second though, when it says plus 30% hit chance, is that post evasion calcs? Like, so does it always have a minimum 30%, or is it plus 30? Because it doesn't say plus 30 accuracy.
Yeah, but that's how it works.
It's 30% of your like accuracy that calcs in the background.
Well, no, it's just it's like you gave 30 ac to the unit.
Yeah, okay, exactly. So it works like that. Okay, that's interesting that they word it like that. It's so weird. I've always wondered, and I never thought to bring it up before.
It should probably be like before the damage mod, but yeah. So I think like the turn, like words are hard. Like when you go to hit a unit, like I think it rolls like reaction chances first, and then like accuracy, whether you hit or miss, because you know reflex obviously.
Right.
So that's one of the first things that gets rolled on in my experience. Moving on to our job 25 skill, it's called Surging Storm. Really cool name. Again, that's the whole like lightning dynamic, storm dynamic is really cool for me personally. Breaks physical barrier before the damage lands, so even if somebody evades it, it's still going to break the physical barrier that might be on it. 165 mod, again, she has a lot of like medium damage mods, and increases debuff resistance by 30 for 3 turns when performing a critical hit for herself. So like weird number, but I mean it's debuff resistance. Sure. Like you never really see anything like you never really get to like 50 debuff resistance or whatever, unless we're talking about Golbez, who is just straight to 100.
The new runes that do debuff resist, are those at 50 or 100 when they're maxed? I forget. I think they're 50, only right?
25, I thought. Was it 50? I think it's lower for just straight debuff resistance. I don't think it's as high as 50.
Well, because they're individual debuffs. I'm looking at the page. Yeah. Okay. Let's go down to. Yeah, because there's generic. But if you go to like. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. They're at 50. So this could be decent. It puts her up to like 80 if she had those on, which isn't awful. If you do like prevent agility breaks or something, or attack breaks. Obviously, you don't need like magic for her, but I wonder if there's a world where that's desirable.
Again, it's dependent on her critting, so just like Storm Brands, like the HP restore. But let's be honest, if she's on like a mono lightning team, like it's going to be a high chance to crit, so it's probably going to be pretty common. 3 casts, 20 AP, range of 4, range height of 1. Yeah, pretty decent job 25 skill. I don't really have any complaints about it.
It's barrier break. Nice. Love it.
Yeah, exactly. So her main sub-job skills are Bolting Wave and Chain Lightning, both at job 3. Bolting Wave, it decreases critical evasion for 3 turns before it hits damage, so even if it gets evaded, obviously. You know, those of us here in the live PvP community don't really put much stock in the crit evasion stat at this point still, but I mean, who knows when it might be useful. Range of 2, range height of 1, 5 casts, 18 AP, so it's pretty cheap. Damage mod 165. So again, she has a lot of, like I said, medium damage mods. The other one, Chain Lightning, again, damage mod 165, base chance 25 to inflict confusion. The range is interesting. It's a range of 3 in a cross AoE. Range height of 1, AoE height of 1, 3 casts, 28 AP. So interesting. I don't really expect to see a lot of Esthers on Precursor sub.
No, probably not.
Paladin and Thief, we're all pretty much familiar with those classes. So her job 12 skill is Immortal Spirit, so she gets that courage, really useful. I think she's missing Saintly Wall, which is one of the other things I look for. So she doesn't have Saintly Wall, but she has a physical mitigation barrier on her main job. Thief, she gets sneak attack at job 12, guaranteed hit / crit from behind, 210 mod, 3 casts, 25 AP.
Listen, if they gave her Steel Heart, can you imagine?
Oh my god, dude. I cannot.
He's so stupid.
Pick
Although
between Immortal Spirit and Steel Heart.
To be fair, you'd have to put her faith higher.
I know, that's what I was about to say.
So that would be, it might be a trade-off.
And last but not least, her limit burst, Bunny Bolt Blitz. So that's 49 AP, so it's not as expensive as say like the 63 AP limit burst, that we see on like casters or whatever. Defense pen of 50 before the damage, 200 damage mod. And not only is there the defense pen before the damage, but decreases slash resistance. So it's like a Kotetsu, but the range on it, it's range height, or sorry, it's a range of 3 in a cross AoE, range and AoE height of 1. So it's not as scary as like those burst AoEs, but you still get defense pen for herself, and then the slash resistance in peril for like anything that lands. It doesn't have any increased accuracy or anything, and I think that's one of her flaws, I guess you could say, is she doesn't have like the high accuracy that you see in some other jobs. But yeah, crazy LB, crazy kits. What are you guys thinking?
I will say, I think that defense pen is only for that attack, right? Because it doesn't say like for 3 turns or anything. So it's just for like for the LB. She gets 50 defense pen. Yeah. Okay, just making sure I read that right. One note is, recently I've heard a lot of people, at least in my guild and stuff, really talking about like scaling. So we're talking about the value of like dex and agility and luck, how we get those like 5 and 10% into damage mods. She's just straight up 120% attack on like all of her main job stuff and her LB. So pumping attack for her is, those numbers. You were comparing her to soldiers earlier. I think that's pretty much where her inspiration is from, given the framing of her passive plus the way she scales.
Can you imagine if soldiers were as beefy as she is? Can you imagine?
There's a reason they're not.
I know, and let's just be thankful.
No. Give somebody with her HP Drain Force. Do it.
Oh man, imagine sub soldier with Drain Force. That would have been the real. Oh boy.
Yeah. Could be worse, boys.
Could be worse. Yeah. So yeah, also giving her Thief Lore is kind of nuts. She does have such a relatively high base agility, as well as putting up to move 4-1. Yeah, the jump's low, and like we said earlier, Easter Bunny maybe should have had the jump be higher than 1.
Yeah, give her 2 jump.
Yeah, just 2 jump. But I mean, I'll take the 4-1 movement, and maybe we'll have some other source of jump. Like unironically using Winter Victora's jump buff TMR last class match kind of made me like that a little bit. Like I wonder if that's actually something we could do depending on the maps. But I think again it is a map dependent thing. So she's gonna struggle on some maps more than others, and maybe that'll be her kind of like CM weakness. But overall, yeah, this kit's sick. She, like we were talking about, Lucio has like all the tools. She's very close to feeling the same, but a little more defensive skewed. Because she has a barrier built in. She has single target resist, or sorry, AoE resist built in. She has resistance types with a little bit of accuracy. Like she can break barriers, restore health on hit sometimes. Like most things we want are here, and she even has defense pen in her passive. I think the only thing she's missing is slash resist pen. But oh wait, there's more when we get done talking about her actual kit. So she does have a weapon that she comes with, which spoiler alert has that. So.
So
very stacked.
Let's move into her VC and weapon before we get like an overall like impression on her. If you guys don't mind.
Circle back.
So her vision card is the dreamiest of eggs. Again, a limited card.
What a name.
Costs 70. It's a interesting splash art. Stats on it are pretty. They're decent, but almost average. So HB is a little above average at 387. Attack 143 could be higher, and a Dex of 38. That's actually kind of impressive. The I like to do the party effects first. So the party effects, it's a mono lightning card. So this is the slash res penetration card for lightning. But it also buffs HP by 13%, which is kind of like the hybrid stat for mono element cards. And once you max it, it gets mono lightning single target resistance 20. Not too bad. It's even, in my opinion, even mix of like offense and defense. So I kind of like it. The bestowed effects, lightning gets just flat 30% increase in attack. If you're using it on Esther, she gets 10% HP and another 15 crit rate. So yeah, crazy. Like, why would you not use this on her? Even if it's on sub VC for some strange reason.
Because you fucked up and didn't realize the
Because
VC
you fucked
pull
up.
has the medals on it, so you didn't pull the VC on the way to pitying her. That's why I don't have it.
Yeah. Yeah, I
totally fucked up.
definitely I invested more Visior in this banner, or in this event than I would have been comfortable with, especially with Persona 5 around the corner. Do you guys have any specific thoughts on this VC?
The unit res to me is the big winner here on this card. The unit res and the HP, because she's got AoE res in her kit.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, there. If you're looking to make her bulky, you want this in the main because single target res doesn't scale well in a sub VC. So slap this on her in your main, and we'll get into specifically what I'm doing in that regard later. But yeah, it's an excellent VC, not just for her, right? If you are a lightning main, you want this. If you
Yeah.
hold for Esther, you want this.
Shit. We all know you're not a lightning main though, so you don't have to worry about it, Prodijee.
Well, but I did pull for Esther.
Yeah, you did.
So
her
like she's got other options, right? You can just slap Eye Guion on her and she's fine.
Yeah, or even Scorpion Sentinel, or
yeah, Scorpion Sentinel.
So she gets a unique weapon. It's called Asterisk Alpha. Interesting name. I don't remember why that's named that. I think maybe it's a reference to like an STMR or something on in the original FFBE. Anyways, it's a great sword. And it's a great sword.
It sure is.
177. Magic 5, whatever. Accuracy 4, crit rate of 8. It looks like all greatsword users can use it. It's pretty cool. Passive effects: lightning attack up 30 / res pen 30. And it's important to note that you don't have to worry about using seals or hammers on this. You can just level it straight to 30, and it'll max out everything. So in that regard, it's like Rain's sword from Porcelain Tower, and like the other like Excalibur that we started with. Yeah, / res pen 30 and lightning attack 30. Crazy. Thoughts?
This is the / res pen sword for greatsword users. So I checked before the podcast started. There are no other swords that do it, and it's 30. It's not like 20 like we've seen on other stuff. So this is just the / res pen thing. If you don't, I'm slowly liking like straight up slash attack up less and less as we get more penetrations that we can stack.
Yeah.
So I think things like this are becoming more valuable, even on like I could use this on Oberon, for example, as a / res thing instead of having his damage one. Granted, that has the ice one, so maybe bad example because that's a 45 mod, and I like 45 mods. But
yeah, like if you're none of us here would, but if you're doing Cheeseblade and you want Stern, for example,
well, none of us here would, but
Stern would enjoy some 30% / res pen, for example.
And then also the lightning attack 30. I mean, there's arguments to be made. Like the obvious one is this versus Buster Sword. So Buster Sword has the 30 lightning and 15 slash, right? That's that one.
Yeah,
I haven't used it, so I'm literally just asking because I don't know. I would argue that I would, if you ask me straight up 30 / res pen compared to 15 / up, I'm gonna probably take the / res pen.
Yeah,
almost every time. So I think this is just a
upgrade.
Ooh, I don't want to say strict, but it is close to a strict upgrade from Buster Sword for me. The downside being you can only have one. So if you want, say, Cloud and Esther, you have to decide who gets which one. Maybe Esther gets the other one because she's not doing as much damage as Cloud, so Cloud gets to do this. But
Okay.
the attack is a little lower too, right? Than Buster Sword, slightly. So the same.
I
Because
feel like it's
177.
comparable.
It's comparable, yeah.
So question.
Sure.
What if this was a TMR?
If this was
And
a
you could put a
TMR, you could
runes
make the
on
most
it.
broken sword you've ever
This is a
seen.
TMR.
Bro, I've actually been
Uh,
looking at like Shell's staff. Like Shell's TMR with
It's always been good.
like trust stones could be fucking absurd. Like I've actually been legitimately considering trying to use that if only it had an ability.
Yeah, I don't think really it's really impacted as many people as I would like using TMR weapons over like accessories or TMR abilities or whatever. Um, I think you can. I have seen fucking Lamega's fist like accuracy weapon like 300 plus attack, all the passives you could want, and then the base accuracy like 20. Like I was like, damn, I gotta start like getting on these TMR
Yeah.
weapons. It's
From the
crazy.
chat, Zenith or wait, was Zenith? Wait, the chat just scrolled. What the hell? Oh yeah, Zenith said Asterisk Alpha on Joom is a consideration. I guess I could see that because she doesn't have a whole lot of resist pens, does she? I don't know her kit like by
No.
heart.
I don't think so.
So this could help because it doesn't matter if you have a 45 damage mod if you can't hit through resistances. So maybe this ends up being a higher damage weapon for her.
Yeah, it might be what tips the scales in her team's favor against for like a tank on tank matchup.
And
Because
Vinny
like
makes a good. Oh, sorry.
once you kill the tank, it's really like clean up after that point.
And Vinny makes a good point. Cloud's a rager anyway, so he doesn't even need the better sword.
That's a good point.
But anyway,
Yeah. Last point on that TMR question. Just the TMR weapons can be very strong. Obviously, we've all seen it. It's
Yeah.
just hard to justify them in live PvP because you get 3 slots. One of them is usually Mastery TMR.
yeah,
And
right.
the other 2, for me at least, they're usually addressing a meta question or making the team work against
Or
the meta.
re-raise.
Or re-raise, yeah.
Especially with Velis now, like with his TMR, that's a big
Right.
like consideration.
Yeah. So for me, they are very strong, but it is very particularly in auto on Esther. You
Oh
could
man.
like if she didn't already have this insane sword, if it was a TMR, it'd be insane, right? Because she has
Yeah.
so many buffs she wants to use on auto that you don't even necessarily want her to use a TMR unless you're doing bells and spamming taunting blade or something. But yeah, that's my take on TMR on upgraded weapon TMRs in live PvP.
Yeah, I think the biggest impact is just the fact that like just the pure stats. You know how like I know we're used to like the second or third piece of gear that you're using gets lowered by a certain percentage. If you're really trying to push like HP, for instance, you want to look for the highest piece of gear that gives HP, and sometimes that's a TMR, and sometimes you can just push it like way over 1,000. Um, so like for like if it was a team like any TMR weapon, like unless it's fucking Ishtola's staff, which is like I think like 88 magic, like you're probably going to have a competitive like stat block for the because of the runes and like all the passives that you have access to. So um I think that is really what it comes down to when it comes to TMR weapons versus like equipment with like abilities on it and stuff. So yeah, it's kind of niche. But anyways, back to Esther. So between her VC and her sword and just her kit, how are you guys feeling? Because I have some thoughts I want to share, but I want to hear from you guys first.
I think I'd want to hear from you before I say anything. So,
Oh,
Isvar, you
really?
got any thoughts to start with?
So back what we were talking about at the beginning when we were first going over her skills, you just look at all of her main job skills. They've all got something, right? Even aside from the extra stuff added on for crit for if you crit with her, she's got reduced counter chance. She's got barrier break. She's got, just she's a Swiss Army knife of a unit to me. She kind of does the only thing she doesn't do is tank magic.
When you say that,
And
I just imagine her like unfolding into like whatever you need. Like her arm turns into a
It's
gun
like
or
it's like
something.
Buster Sword, Asterisk Alpha
Uh,
into all the weapons.
Swiss Army knife. I don't know why
um,
that gives me that impression.
but I mean, for me, she like I said this in the chat as well, but she doesn't need a full lightning team to be good, right? She does what she does no matter what. And you there's some concerns about like, oh, her only 200% mods are Taunting Blade and Limit Break, right? But she has 40 defense pen always on. She's got 30 slash res pen from her sword, and she's got a unit res imperil on one of her best attacks. She's not going to one shot people, but that is not her job. She will stand there taking hits, doing very consistent, good damage while being very hard to kill. Take 3 to 4 hits to kill. Like tests against Oberon, even only doing a third of her health in one hit. Like this is a unit that if you just want to stand in front of the enemy while your core strategy does other things and she keeps them off of you, she will do that.
She is a true unit. It's just like the...
She is an absolute unit.
There you go. That's
Bulky Bunny Bodyguard.
Bulky Bunny Bodyguard using
So
her
catchy.
Bunny Bolt Blitz.
Oh my god.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. So I'm glad you touched on you mentioned Oberon. One of the things that I've seen with her, like because of the way that she is such a physical bruiser, um, it's interesting how Earth doesn't really have that many magic attackers. Like what Luell and Kilfey maybe. Um,
Mm.
I have done mocks with her where it's taken her like 2, 3, maybe even 4 hits from like her opposing elements to kill her, to whittle her down. Whether like Oberon or Noctis or whatever, like that is not allowed normally. Like you should not expect that to happen for like the opposing element matchup. Generally like it's either like a 1 or 2 shot and like you wash your hands of it and you move on with your day, right?
Wash your hands
So
of it,
like
yeah.
so she's still like, because she's so much bulkier than Cloud, she doesn't have that reflex, but like in terms of like the mono lightning team, like if you manage to get a taunting blade off and get the attention on her from like these physical earth units, I think she can deliver more like surprising results than you might expect from that like elemental matchup. Um, and that's just crazy to me. Like I don't think it should really have that disparity there. So that's one thing I definitely wanted to know. Um, and I think, yeah, obviously the biggest thing for like whether people want to invest in her is the the difference between her and Cloud. She doesn't get the reflex. It's such a wasted reaction slot. Like, why? Why? So
Yeah.
lame. Like, you could have had something interesting there, especially since she's like a global X unit.
Compared to Zazan's global original reaction ability.
Oh my god. Jeez. Like, can you like that would have been cool to see on her. Just like
Right.
the what's it called?
Which
Speed
fits for
reflex. You
her,
just
yeah,
space.
or yeah, speed reaction, whatever it is. Just give her haste, and it matches her
Yeah,
whole
exactly.
spiel. Yeah,
They could have went a little further in exploring that. I don't get
Does she need
the
it
rationalization.
though?
Yeah, no, she
no,
probably
she
doesn't.
doesn't need it.
She
She
doesn't need
doesn't
it,
need
but
it.
it would be cool, you know, like so I guess you could
Be
say
very
on the
nice.
opposite end, like it could be worse, right? One of the other things I wanted to note, it's not exactly a note, but something I always want to address is, what do you guys think her flaws are? Like, what are her biggest weaknesses for anyone trying to build against her? Obviously, magic is a no-brainer, right?
So chat's
Yep.
been mentioning typeless attacks are going to be really good, right? Especially if you are an earth unit like Ketone or something with Doton.
Yeah.
That's going to hurt like a bitch.
She's got great base defense too.
But yeah, exactly. She has good base defense and she has pretty hefty HP pool. I mean, you still have to do all of that pool with it.
Yeah, sorry.
And
She
single
still has
target
access
resist. Yeah, exactly.
and the barrier.
But yeah,
Oh, that's only physical.
right. What were we talking about?
Her weaknesses.
Weaknesses.
Right, weaknesses. Magic, obvious. Don't
Well,
need
of
to touch
course.
on it.
Yeah.
Range. Her best range is Sonic Blade. Right, you can't really spam that. One of her best abilities is Stormbrand, and it's 2 range, but it does have range height too. I'm not really concerned about her range, to be honest with you. She's got the 4 move. She's bulky. And the way I intend to use her, she doesn't need to get in range. People will come to her. So, and if you're worried about her sieging onto a missile castle team, with her buff, she goes up to crazy missile resist anyway.
Almost like a Nightblade or a Viking.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, but those are the big obvious ones from the get go. Is she dies to magic, and Leela will put her in the ground, and she's got pretty low range.
So I'm waiting for you to talk about status ailments. She gets immobilized. She gets stopped. What do you guys think?
Well, I think that's always a given, though. It's like if you don't resist a status, you're going to get affected by the status. So it's like I try to not like. I feel like we say that for every single unit, so I've been trying to avoid going super deep into it. But
recently, like the status ailments have been maybe kind of meh. Like they begin like, why do we have these resistances? Like paralyzed res. I think we've been almost spoiled in like some units in the past or in the recent past where we're like, oh fuck yeah, they get like stop and disable resistance. That's
yeah, we had a
awesome.
whole string. It was like 2
exactly.
months of units. It was like Electros Helena, Garvel, like a bunch of units had all these ridiculous. It was like charmed. Yeah, it was all the good stuff. So yeah, we were spoiled. Maybe
it's not always a consideration. Like I think you still have to take note of the status ailment, like opportunities to shut them down by status ailment, you know.
I think being a unit with Immortal Spirit, I like having the poison resist.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
It's a counter there. And also there is something to be said for if you're going to specifically build against statuses, they're typically those more impactful ones. So if you have her on a team with Rosa, you have her on a team with Luel's TMR because Katona's giving you trouble in CM, you don't want to already have stop resist and then kind of waste the stop resist buff.
Right.
Now, granted it's better to just always have it, but it at least gives her a little bit more variety in what she's resisting if you do want to build against things that you would be buffing against, if that makes sense. That's not like the best argument in the world, but it's at least a thought. I think we've covered pretty much her weaknesses though. Like the range is the biggest one, I would say. She does have to get in there, but also that's not necessarily her job to always be in there. She can always throw some snipe daggers on the way in too, right?
True.
I think it's also notable the difference between her and Cloud. Like Cloud has access to like using Keen Blade and like those kind of armors. Like it's not exactly a detriment that she can only use hats and cloths and stuff. Like she can use Princess Fatigues like Noctis's TMR for like the AP restore as well as the protect, just to make her even crazier for against physical damage. Like it's like she has Herculean waist cloth. She has Yerma's TMR to be able to use for increasing accuracy and such. So I don't really think it's that bad of a thing that she has like a different equipment proficiencies. One last thing I wanted to note is because she has her thief sub job. What do you guys think about trying to build her like an evade bruiser?
Not enough luck.
Yeah, so I don't know if her stats are
conducive 177.
to such things.
her base luck is 177.
Yeah,
and her dex
is an excellent evade buff, but it's not going to make up for that much luck.
Right, and not to mention, Mono Lightning isn't exactly built around evade or luck.
Like I guess she could easily be on like a team with the Ranger TMR thing that gives like crazy AoE.
A sniper, Niblu's TMR.
But still probably not that great. I think you just lean more into her bulk, and even if she's on an evade team, she can just be bulky in the front with the units behind her or something. I don't know.
Exactly.
But I don't think you're expecting her to be evasive.
Who knows if we're ever gonna see like lightning, Mono Lightning, like fucking like luck party VC and like evade and stuff. It's weird.
We'll get more crit and crit damage before we get more evade.
Oh my god. Maybe the first like crit evade VC.
Just giving a VC with 100% crit. It's like, oh shit, okay. Nah, but yeah, I guess we talk about how we plan to use her, and then kind of skate into sort of more of Isvar's topics here. So, do you have any pre-planned anything for her, Daniel? Like as of right now, do you have like a super specific team you want to build for, or are you just kind of like you'll figure it out when it comes to you?
I've been really busy this week.
That's fair. Yeah,
She's still at like level 89 for me. I've been building her slow.
same.
I think I'm coasting into like by the end of her week, like by Tuesday, I'm gonna get her to max LB. And obviously, like once that happens, like it's really easy to go from there to like the next 200 mind spheres to get her up to like 115 or whatever. So I'm building her slow. I haven't really had the chance to use her in PvP that much. Sorry, in live matches. Um, I well, first of all, I pulled for her, but I went to pity, which is unfortunate. Um,
Same.
yeah. So I think it was about like 50K actually down the drain between her and her card, her vision
Oh,
card.
I did not spend that much. Yeah.
Um, so I wasn't really planning on investing so much in her, but now that I have her, like she really complements my lightning team well. And I think I have like 31 lightning mastery now or something because of it. But like I heavily invested in Renan and I wasn't expecting to do that. So it's nice, almost like my ice team. It's nice to like kind of be rounding out that element now. And I'm still kind of playing around with teams, like you mentioned, like just like Cloud, like Esther can work with like a rainbow team. Like right now for me, like Velis, Locke, and Elena are doing work. Because like if Locke and Elena get hit, then the Velis can just not only heal them but restore their AP as well. I think uh, I don't really have any specific plans, but you can definitely expect me to start making them.
All right, Isvar, how about you?
Okay, I pulled her specifically because of how well I think her kit meshes with Setia's. That is the entire reason I pulled her, is because we all like when Setia was coming out, there was all the sky is falling of why pull for a fire unit when Celis and
Yeah.
Astrios are coming out.
God,
Um, which I got 5th place in last CM with a Setia team, but don't
And you
worry,
and
she
you're
can't.
like mono fire over here, like hold my candle.
fake news.
Right, but that is not to say that water will not make a splash, so to say.
Oh my god,
Um,
they're nice.
I
but
appreciate it.
because okay, so for the past since Grand Season 2 of CM, right? The past year or whatever, I have run mono fire every single CM, and I have not had to worry about that because very few people run mono water. Vinny and Elzak are about the only ones. And well, I did run into Boomhauer007, who's in the live
Yeah.
PvP Discord. Ran
It
into him.
depends on the window. Like I've seen
Yeah,
some mono water and third window.
but I can essentially queue up as mono fire and pretend that I'm light because I don't have an elemental counter because nobody runs water. That is changing. Water is getting good units, and even if water does not become the full meta, it, Astrius will be good no matter what. So lightning is actually one of my least. It is my least developed element, and I pulled Esther for the specific purpose of putting her in front of Astrius so that he can't just walk straight into Setia.
Right.
Because my original plans for the CM were just going to be, well, whatever. I'm gonna throw Lilith, Winter Bashery, and Setia in there and have a full bow fire squad and just see how it goes. Or maybe Luartha for quad hits onto dispelling stuff and
Yeah.
trying to kill with a chain.
I think
But
like before you get too much further, it's important. Well, it's important for me to say, like I hate interrupting people, so it's important enough for me to
you're fine.
interrupt. Like, I think we're seeing more instead of like a rainbow team of like 3 different elements. I think I'm seeing more of like a rainbow team of like 2 elements, where like there's enough
Yep,
good units in every element now, where it's like 2 wind units or 2 ice units or 2 whatever element units, and then the one that really complements them from like another element.
exactly. And that's my main plan with Esther. For next CM, it will be almost necessarily be 3 units, purely because she cannot wear Keenblade. If she could wear Keenblade, I'd be on Esther, Setia, Mish. But since
Ooh, Mish.
Ooh.
Oh, baby.
Oh, the reference.
Now we know why he's on the
And the
podcast this
crowd
week.
goes wild.
I ran Mish in CM a few CMs ago. It was
Yeah.
So good.
Glaciella Mont Mish.
So
He
the three of us
toted
did.
he toted an Elena with re-raise on,
Oh my god.
and she came back as a toad.
Really?
That's how it works. You stay toad even through re-raise.
That's amazing.
What?
It's on my YouTube. You could go look at the video.
That is so dumb, Gimu. Like, what the hell?
Anyways,
That's
Oh,
Selena.
yeah, it's okay.
Since she can't wear Keenblade, my team will probably be Setia, Esther, Zazan.
Like regular Zasan?
Regular Zazan, yeah.
Okay.
Because it's 240 unit cost for next CM.
Oh, sure. Okay.
So, yeah. But everything about what she does makes her the perfect bodyguard for Setia. Setia has a single target resistance buff that she can put on the team. Esther has an AoE resistance buff. Esther is a massive physical tank with an elemental advantage against lightning. Astrius is coming out. His LB is typeless, but everything else he does is obviously water, and she'll be good against it. Astrius obviously has his follow-up attacks, which can get rid of courage, but we're not talking about that. But
we ignore that.
she's going. Furthermore, one of the big things is she's a greatsword user. So putting Exorcist in her sub VC slot gives her triple trick. When Setia's whole thing, she has everything in the world that you could possibly want, except for accuracy. So, with Yerma TMR, which is what I always run on Setia, plus Esther running forward, running interference for her, and debuffing evasion by 40 with triple trick, with Blood Boil on from Yerma TMR, Setia has a plus 100 AC after all of the accuracy I've already built on her. And
You know what's weird?
Yes. Go ahead.
I just noticed, like, Esther doesn't have an attack buff. Setia has
No.
an attack buff on Sniper and sub.
Correct.
So
That is
like,
another thing.
it's even more synergy there.
Yes, because Esther has really high base attack, but she does not have any attack buffs outside of if you put her VC on her. And Setia has a way to buff that if you want.
And like that's always been a lesser consideration to me, more over like things like keeping units alive, like building their defenses. I guess I'm more of a defensive player. But yeah, I just now noticed that. It's weird.
Legit, the only part of Esther's kit, there's two things that don't exactly mesh super well with Setia. One is that Setia already reduces counter chance, so she can. That's unnecessary, though. A lot of time you don't even want to use that. You don't want to use thermal exposure because you've got better things to do with your AP.
Yeah.
Two is Esther. This is actually my only problem with Esther's kit is that her AoE resistance buff is tied to a physical only barrier.
Yeah.
So if the enemy has any magic damage, you have to be very careful about what order you're applying it on so that you don't overwrite mastery barrier if you'd rather have magic barrier.
Right.
That's the only thing I really don't like about Esther's kit is that now for auto, that ability is busted. That is a busted ability for auto.
Wait, so if you apply magnetic force first and you get that damage, the physical damage barrier, and then you override it with Mastery's TMR, I feel like the AoE res is still gonna be
it stays.
Yeah.
It stays. Yeah.
It'll still be there. It'll still be there. So
that's kind of the order you want.
Yeah, exactly. If you have all the time in the world, right? If you have all the time in the world to buff, because she has a million buffs, and you want the Storm Guardian for all those resistances and the accuracy. You want the courage. You want, if she's got Mastery TMR, you want Mastery TMR on, which she would in that team, right? Because I've got Yerma TMR and then Keenblade, so she has to be Mastery. So she's got all these things.
Yeah, let's be honest. In most CMs, you have the choice of like what to do in like 2 turns maybe, and then it's go time.
And for next map, if I'm getting rushed down, I'm not gonna have 5 turns to buff, right? So
Oh man, I just realized like I've been kind of slacking on updating the CM maps. I don't even remember what the next one's going to be, but we can talk about that. I don't know when we have the chance.
it's mine's too, and we actually have access to it in friendly
Oh
match.
yeah, okay.
And also, I've been goaded. I just pulled for the VC while we were talking.
But see, even
step 3, I got it at step
uh,
3, so I didn't have to go to 5. But
very nice. But
first
even in that
non-pity
full
one.
rainbow team, I'm planning, I'm probably going to use her VC in the main slot because her whole job is to be tanky and stand in front.
Well,
And
she
with
gets what,
just
65 slash pen with that if she has her VC on in the party, right?
yeah,
Is it 25 or
so
35?
30,
It's 35
yeah,
Yeah.
it's 35
plus the weapon.
plus I'm gonna have exorcists on in the sub too. But
No slash
that's
pen
that's purely for triple trick.
Yeah.
But yeah, even in that team, I'm running it because I want her to be, because I have that in the main and I Guyan in the sub. She'll have over 10k HP and just stand in front of people.
So I have one
And
last
the unit
question
res.
for I have one last question for you guys about Satya. About Esther.
Same
One
unit.
last question
No,
about Satya, like
let's
weeks
talk about
later.
Setia.
So we kind of like mentioned this briefly, or at least reference it. So what TMRs do you think would be best on her? And or Espers? I don't really think Espers is as important as like the TMR choices.
DMR.
I haven't given enough thought, so I'm just gonna hand it off to you guys.
Okay.
Yeah. So some
Bec-
good things. Go ahead.
because of like what we were just talking about, like how many turns does she have to buff? You know, like are you going to use a TMR skill?
Yeah, I think there's a few different ways you can go because she is such a broadly applicable unit. You can do a variety of things with her. One option is movement and jump increasing. Because I could see a world where you want to do quicken stuff with Esther because she's got a powerful slash and barrel on her LB. So you can, now if we were living in a world where we still had crystals, you could do
God, maybe next grand season.
Dude, I want them back so bad. Oh my
right.
god.
You could do Ketone TMR into pick up a crystal into slash LB into the counter reduce AoE and just melt a whole team, right? That's less likely. So if you're wanting to do quicken now, you probably want bells on her so she actually has the juice to keep going. Mine will have Mushroom TMR because I just don't have any other slots for it in the next team. You could also, one thing I was actually considering was Kingmont TMR so that I could get an AoE resistance buff that wasn't tied to the physical barrier.
Oh, so you could get the AoE, you get best of both worlds. So someone else monster
Exactly.
TMRs and you get to do, so she never even have to use it.
I feel like
and if it gets a physical team, you just use it anyway, and then you don't.
I feel like that's like still like number 3 on the prio list. Like you still want courage and her accuracy buff, right?
And that's the thing. That would be in a CM with no CT minute, no haste, and no quicken.
Right.
On a bigger map. But
no courage either.
For me, it's probably it's either movement increasing TMRs. Winter Venera is actually a pretty good one for her because it gives her that accuracy and move for one turn.
Yeah.
That 5 move. Whew.
Yeah.
What do you think you are? Ketone? Get out of here.
Wait, doesn't the kitty? I thought that was one jump for some reason.
No,
that's move.
Wait, what does Raldor's TMR do?
That's
one
the same but less.
It's the same thing?
Yeah, well, it's
but
3
it's an
turns.
accessory, so it's
yeah.
Oh, the other one's
Raldor's
for 1 turn.
Turns. Yeah. Winter Venera is 70 accuracy and 1 move for 1 turn.
Okay, so it's mainly just like the next hit is what I'm valuing here, but
exactly.
after that...
Oh,
it has 2 casts, though. Okay, it does have 2 casts.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
That's all the thoughts I have for. What is it? Is it like Stern, original Stern's TMR?
Yeah,
that does unit res.
Sorry,
AoE res.
I just realized that Kitty Hood could be used on Curry.
Oh wait, it's armor. Never mind.
Yeah. So Ruin Stern's armor is the unit res, I believe.
Okay. Well, she can't even wear armor, so I'm
why
I bring it up.
That's right. I honestly I really like using Noctis's TMR on her, like the protects as well as the AB restore. even though it's a armor TMR, you know. Um, I mean, it gives her the chance to use like an aim ring, or if you want to use like the pod for more agility on her. I don't think she really needs that as much, but um, if you want to go like full accuracy on her, I think Princess Fatigues, aim ring, and her sword, obviously. That's just one build for her.
Looking in the chat here, and Elzak is saying that the VC ability is nerfed in the subslot.
Yeah,
That's not
lowered
something
as
I have
well.
tested.
I did not think it was. I thought that was a weird like thing they didn't do, but I guess I trust our scratch testing team over here more than my recollections. So my recollections and lack of testing. So
If
yeah, they're
that
kind of
is the
going through with the math
case,
here.
yeah, I'll have to test it. But if that is the case, I will have to rethink my VCs.
We
But
have to let Bismarck know because like he's keeping a list of like the second VC slot ratio for like buffs and stuff. I wonder if he's considered like skills.
yeah,
It's
I don't know.
interesting.
I assumed it was the same. But
And we just MLB'd Esther. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we're done. We're wrapping up the talk on Esther.
Yeah, let's move. I mean, I was trying to lead into it by giving Isvar a chance to talk about his team plans because we do want to talk a bit about your journey as a sort of mono fire. I don't want to say a one trick because I assume you can play other things, but you know what I mean by that. Like you always, it's kind of like I'm becoming an ice one trick where I'm forcing it no matter what. Oh wait, someone's sharing screenshots real quick. So 9% there, 25%. Okay, so yeah, there is a. I assume that first one is a full. Yeah. I'm going to assume that the accuracy didn't change from any other sources either. Positioning's all the same.
Crazy.
Okay.
Interesting.
Interesting.
So yeah, it doesn't. Yeah. It's still useful, but it's not the full 40.
Right.
Huh. Oh, that's something to consider.
Oh, some testing required. Anyway, yeah, so we want to get into your recent. I mean, you can start at the beginning as well, like just kind of like at what point did you decide to go monofire and sort of, I guess, your journey up until Setia, and it sounds like there's like the new age with Setia.
The new age.
New age.
And then also and then Terra as well. We haven't heard a lot of personally between us, we haven't had a lot of experience with Terra, except being against her once or twice. So if you I think you've mentioned how amazing she is. So the floor is yours to just gush about your stuff.
I started out, as many of us did, just running Agrius and Sid in in class match. Then and then I transitioned into accuracy bruisers, like many of us did, with Agrius, Kilfey, but I was also running Elda. As
my
tech
boy.
against opposing Agriuses. And I ran that style of team all the way up until Nivlu released, at which point Nivlu said, you can't tank ranged teams anymore because I have barrier breaks, defense breaks, and haste and quicken. So that was the time that I finally learned how to do quicken, and I started running various quicken teams whenever quicken was allowed. So, but I never did double quicken. I always only did single quicken, not because of any moral compunction, just because I don't want to line that up. And I'd rather, I always, for some reason, I always feel, because when I run a team, I always want to run it for the units that I'm doing because I want to like show them off or whatever. And whenever I'm like, oh, I just am picking up this guy because they're fast and they have quicken, so they're just going on my team, and I have less attachment to that. So I usually only dedicate one slot to a quicken. So it started out with Glaciella was my main quicken target, and then I would experiment with other things as they came out. I ran one CM, the CM that Vinny won with double quicken Glaciella. I was running single quicken Winter Venera with Helena as my quickener.
Easy.
Yeah, I was running double quick and Glacier as well.
Yeah, and that one was fun because Venera she does more damage than you'd think. Like I would poison mist over there, and LB Like I could kill Halloween Leela through Mastery Barrier and Elemental Disadvantage.
I think that was the CM I ran Evasion Victora, Ruin
Yeah,
Stern,
I think
and
so, yeah.
Shell. I think that was my team back then.
Oh
Jesus.
man.
Oh man, how things have
So,
changed.
and then once EX was released, I basically switched into this mode where I was like, I just want to pick one unit that I want to showcase, and I want to just use them. So after EX happened, I said, I want to use Rob. So I just used
Okay.
Rob in every CM for I think like 3 or 4. And I think during that time was the first time I fought Captain, which began our multi-CM log rivalry of me always barely beating him. And he hasn't got one yet. And then this last CM, we matched up twice. And in the second one, he was in an advantageous position with a full evasion team, Locke and Elena, and I disconnected. So didn't even,
No.
he didn't even get the satisfaction of truly beating me. But
Oh,
after I played Rob until Luell released, and I really liked Luell, and I ran Luell until the first grand season
I
of
love
Class
Luell.
Match was over.
Well, so good.
Yeah, the first one that she released on a CM day, and I won 20 her that day. In it.
Me three.
I love her as like a physical mitigation like caster. But there's too many like wind magic units for me to like.
Yeah. So that's part of the reason I swapped off of Luell
Yeah.
is because EX Leela just said no. It was too much with her small low movement. It was too much to account for in team building for me.
But now like you can bring Celeste and Luell will be protected.
Yeah, you can just sell us and say okay, no. And then at Grand Season 2, the second season with all this insane climb to Diamond, I switched to Mono Fire and have played Mono Fire in every CM except for one, which was during Winter Luartha's release when I ran
Okay.
Winter Luartha, Aranea, and Seymour.
That's a spicy team. Jesus. Oof.
But yes, I kind of got onto the fire train because Lilith has always been one of my favorite characters in the game. I always like
Oh, okay.
using her. And I like Glaciella as well, and I got Regalia Glaciella.
Yeah.
Like, okay, let's just do this. So I ran for a lot of those CMs. I was running Mont Glaciella Phoebe or something along those lines with a quicken with it lined up so that I could quicken Mont, and then on the next turn for double turn on Mont, and then the next turn I could double turn on Glaciella, and Glaciella would often be wearing Groudor DMR, so she could go up and do all her nonsense. But more often than not, it was the Mont show for that whole time, for that era, just because you don't need to do anything else. That's the thing. Mont has been severely outclassed as a tank. Going like we've got our Jooms and our Charlottes and everything that just tank better than he does, but they don't have a game-winning status limit break.
Yeah.
And he's got that plus Poison Mist. So I don't need to double quicken him. He can just Poison Mist with Shikuchi. So Mont, he has been the longest viable unit for me in CM, just always performing, always doing his thing.
Do you remember when the flying Mont strat became a thing? Were you originally a part of that?
I wasn't. I was building him more bulky at that time, and even today when I run him, I don't do like the run forward CT Kalem's Pride into like Keenblade. That's not usually what I do. I just kind of buff up with him and find an opportunity for a double turn and Poison Mist in.
I feel like Elsec is like for some reason I'm thinking of him. Like I think he was one of the ones that was pushing that for a while. What do you think, Elsec?
Well, we'll wait for him to type back. But
yeah, but anyways, please continue.
And then we were gearing up for it was going to be the first CM, I think, after EX Leela happened, where it was supposed to be the beach class match.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I just want Setia to be released right now so that I can have the range to kill Leela. And then that CM didn't even happen. And it was the next one. But that CM was really fun because I used Minwoo, Winter Mashuri, Kingmont,
Ooh.
and with Phoenix and Phoenix VC in the party, and then Mashuri had Knight's Armor, so she had base 50% magic resistance.
Did she
I
get her
faced
upgrade by then? Did she get her like lock on? I feel like she did.
Yeah,
by then.
yeah, she did. So that was another, and of course that CM had a bunch of, like, every CM since the releases had Elena Jaden, right? But that one had a bunch of them. But that was a fun one because I faced 4 to 5 Double Quick and Leela teams and beat them all.
Get out of here.
Just give him a
Yeah,
slap.
like,
Get out of here with that strat.
yeah. I mean, I fought long time too, and he was my Double Quick and Leela. But man, just Mashuri does a ton of damage, and Mont is limit break. There's nothing you can do about it. But since then, the only CM we've had since then was Setia. And so I knew I was going for Setia because I had transitioned into fire. I wanted to be fire because it was, like I said, Lilith was one of my favorite units. It was a less desirable element than most. It wasn't your ice, or not ice, but wind, light, dark, all these really popular ones. And I always gravitate towards lesser loved things in
Right.
these kinds of
Underdog.
games.
Underdog
Yeah.
fighting. I think part of
So,
that is because like it was missing a tank and a dedicated healer for like the longest time, you know?
right. Yeah. But since I always harbored a grudge from those Niblu days, so I never used ranged units.
Oh man.
That's
It's
it.
like me and Frederica.
So Setia is actually the first ranged unit I've pulled for and used extensively. But she's great. I love her. Like I said earlier, she has everything you could want in a ranged unit aside from accuracy. So to me, that just means that
Build
gives me a
accuracy.
nice
Build
yeah.
accuracy.
It gives me a nice focus for team building. I say, what do I want to do? I want to use Setia. What do I have? What can I use to make that viable? So then we go from there. And she can wear Yerma TMR. So that's a big part of it. I have Blades of Grass.
Yeah.
Yeah, Blades
So-
of Grass is sick too.
So you've never had a CM where you didn't really have fun. Like it's always been fun for you.
Correct. Yes. So
I think
here's
that's
the
really
thing.
important.
Yeah. So, but that's even if I'm facing frustrating teams or I lose a cheese blade or something like that, I go into it. I say I am using these. Because I never go into it a CM and say what is the highest win rate team that I can use. That's never
Mhm.
what I do when I go into it. I go into it saying, what's the highest win rate team I can use using the units that I like, or that I
Right.
want, or using the strategy that I want to do. So I go into it knowing that it's suboptimal and that other people who are just trying to win, there's nothing wrong with that, are going to use the optimal strategy. And I have to, a lot of the fun for me is overcoming optimal strategies with suboptimal strategies.
Right?
Right.
Just so it's like validating or just like satisfying, you know.
Right.
It's also when you beat them, you're like above them, like, "Yeah, what's up, bitch?" Like, you couldn't win? What's up?"
Just like the adrenaline rush.
That's this literally all of the enjoyment I'm getting from quick pick match currently is everyone picking Elena Locke into my fire team and just dying.
Like what the hell? What did they?
Elena Locke is definitely all I see for sure.
Yeah. I finally lost a match today, but it was against Celis Summer Elsorel.
Yeah, that hurts.
But
That hurts a lot.
that one I probably would have even won if anyway, we're not talking about quick pick.
No, we're not. Have you guys noticed that, by the way?
We don't
Audience
talk
at
about
home,
Bruno.
have we noticed we haven't talked about the quick pick match? Anyway,
What
back to
quick pick
Isvar.
match?
So yeah, the previous CM was the first CM that we had access to Setia, and the main strike against her that everybody said don't pull for her, she's useless, is that Elena was the best unit in the game. in auto and the most popular unit by a wide margin, right? And I just went against a lot of them and beat them anyways. And that's not me saying that I'm really good. It's me saying that
It's not unbeatable.
this game has a robust enough battle system and party formation system that you can build to beat something you know you're weak against.
Right.
All right. So before we start to wind down, what about Terra? Like, when does she come into play?
So Terra, yeah, sorry, I'm talking all about Setia.
Nah, you're good. Hey, I mean, we need the other side of it, because I was one of the people who, when Setia was kind of coming out, I'm like, I don't know, guys. I don't get the hype. Like, I understand.
I mean, that's fair. On paper, she just
I understand the hype, but I don't get the sort
I
of
remember
the what's the word for it? I can't even tell. Like the positive outlook. I couldn't get myself there.
Well, that's the thing, right? If you wanted to run Frederica instead, you absolutely could, and you'd probably have similar, if not better, results depending on the teams you were running. It's just that Setia's fire, and I wanted to use her, and she's got a fire LB on her LB, or she's got a fire Impera LB, which is very useful for beating mono water teams.
Wait, fun fact: my mono ice team has as many fire LBs as your fire team has.
As far you are living proof of like when I was covering Setia, I was like, she's not that bad. Like, you can build her for accuracy. So I'm so glad that you're here talking about her. And in the same vein, like I love Terra. I love using her, but you've definitely used her more than I have. So yeah, let's go into her.
Terra, obviously her marquee ability is going to be Meltdown, right? And we got 6 uses of it in global, and it's that was actually the main thing I was concerned about with her going into her release, was that she has so few uses of her abilities on her main job, and you're always going to be running Immortal Spirit in Paladin, so I honestly was concerned about her running out of things to cast. But 6 uses of Meltdown, completely, don't even worry about that. Terra, her only weakness is that she's stuck on 3-1
Yep.
movement. You need.
I could not emphasize that more.
Yes, that is the only downside to her. Everything else, she does insane damage. If you like just line up a meltdown, if like her self buff gives her slash attack res, and 40% magic. So even on characters like Charlotte and Celeste that are designed to tank spirit based attackers, you use that and you can start dealing insane damage to them. There was the match against Boomhauer 007. He was approaching with his Titus, Farm, and Lara all hasted, and they were up in a cross position.
Oh no!
Through the middle.
Say it isn't so.
Setia LB'd, hit all 3 of them, and fire imperiled them all. Terra walked up, meltdown, killed 2, and Titus was alive.
That hurt.
Like, she takes 2 to 3 hits to go down. You never pop her courage in 1 hit. So she takes minimum 3 to go down. During that time, she will be obliterating anyone on the other team. And all the time that you spend on her is time that is not spent going after Setia. So she is kind of the perfect, like, she just stands there, kind of how I'm gonna be using Esther for next CM. She runs interference for you.
Do you think she's more impactful than Esther is, or do you think they're comparable?
I think in a world where I didn't have to worry about elemental disadvantage, I would still be running Terra. Because the reason I like using Esther on the team is that when I build for accuracy, it doesn't matter for Terra, right? If I have Blades of Grass in the main party, it feels like a wasted stat for Terra because she's just going to use Meltdown anyways.
Hey, you get the higher crit chance.
But for Esther, I get that 25 accuracy, and I'm building towards good accuracy on 2 units, and the VC doesn't feel wasted.
More efficient.
That's a mental thing with the efficiency of it, but it's nice regardless. Obviously, I believe Esther will be taking more physical punishment than Terra. Terra is still not as bulky as Esther. I expect Esther to take at least 1 more hit from most things, if not 2 more. But yes, they're running similar functions. I think Terra is probably better in auto as well. Just against at least the current meta, Terra will annihilate the light teams. It's not even close.
Because you don't have as much chance to counter Terra with like buffs and stuff.
Exactly. She just walks up and meltdowns. And she doesn't care about accuracy. But she could honestly, if you ran Katone TMR on her, she would be a devastating quicken target. Because she doesn't really need to worry about AP. I said the only bad thing about her was her movement. The other bad thing is her height ranges. If you're on a map with bad height ranges, she won't do it, right?
Similar to Tifa.
Oh man. Yep. Oh, that hurts thinking about that. I was against the Terra and I did the calcs on like all of her height ranges and stuff, but I forgot she could just walk backwards and behind the wall and shoot into the wall.
Middle on the floor.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, she can't hit me. She's gonna get stuck on the wall. I'm in this corner. Nah, man, she used her LB and I lost 2 units. I think, God damn it.
Just coming from personal experience, I think one of the units that that Terra struggles the most against is Halloween Little Leela.
Yes.
Because of her like Shukuchi, if she has that on. Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, you're gonna be running Shukuchi and Shadowrunner on Leela. She has that high damage, high magic damage. When I was running Terra last CM, one of the matches I lost to was because it came down to Leela and Terra didn't have her movement buff anymore. Like I'd already used Katone's TMR.
Yep.
And yeah, because of getting trapped in the center steps or whatever, like she was able to kite me just enough and stay out of range. It was so frustrating.
That's absolutely the thing. If you're playing Terra in manual, you have to be very keenly aware of where you are placing her and the threat ranges of the opponents. So if you're going into a match against Leela, you have to say, my win condition in this match is not Terra. Terra is there to prevent people from getting to my win condition, which is Setia. Or whatever else you might be running. If you're running like Cloud, he can do a similar role, right? But someone that can kill Leela in 1 hit from range. Terra, in that respect, is an excellent distraction because you can just send her off to the side, but bait them into range of hitting her, and then say, "Okay, you went after Terra, but now you're dead." Right?
Yeah, like I think we can all agree, like one of the worst matchups is when you have to worry about all 3 of the opponent's units.
Yeah, right, for sure. Like it's nice when I see, for example, like a mono win team. I'm like, all right, if I just kill the other 2. I can deal with Joom later. That kind of thing. At least it narrows it down. Yeah. But yeah, when all 3 are like, oh fuck, like mono Earth feels that way sometimes, where it's like Zazan, Oberon, and Noctis all feel like problems.
They're all bulky. They all deal damage.
Yeah, they all have like some weird like resist, or like one guy never dies, one guy teleports around, so like predicting his next move is really difficult. So it's like dealing with those teams is really brutal. And then Oberon just walks up like, oh, by the way, no AP. That's how we lose those matches. But
if we ever get another CM where you can heal, Terra's Saintly healing is also extremely nice.
Gotta love Paladin sub on mages.
I do.
It heals over 3,000 HP every time. And I don't know. If there's ever a time when we can play a CM with healing not nerfed, no quicken, and just like have a real bruiser off like we used to.
Oh man, if only.
Terra would do great.
Terra and Velis, let's go.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
God, Velis is so insane.
All right.
But yeah.
What do you think, Prodijee?
That's about it.
Yeah, no, I think Isvar, do you have any other? Is that pretty much all your journey from beginning to end? Any other notes?
Yeah, that's about it. I'm just on the fire train now. Please reduce reduce Lilith's cost by 10, give her a real stat node that's not Fennis Killer, and
she has Fennis Killer.
She does, yeah.
Give
like
her
Ramada, I think.
give her an excellent MA2. That's all I ask.
You have Summer
guys
Lilith,
can take it
though.
away.
Like, why not Summer Lilith?
Because she's Earth.
Ooh, that's yeah, you're right.
But no, because the real reason is because of her range.
Being short range for being range, yeah.
Yeah.
The Bruiser Ranger.
I will say, Missile Res and Peril, really nice.
It's true. So yeah, I guess wrapping up your end. Where can people find you? Do you make content? I know you do, but do you make content?
I don't particularly make content. I just throw up some raw footage of CM matches sometimes. I kind of fell off of it for a while, but I put a whole playlist from CM25, the last one, up there on my YouTube, which is just Isvar. I can link it in the chat or whatever.
Did you fall off? Sorry.
Yeah, I hadn't.
Did you fall off because I stopped streaming and stopped asking you for like?
You stopped asking for VODs. Yeah, that was one reason. That was one reason, but also because like I just didn't have anybody to show it to, so I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
This is just here for recording purposes.
If someone happens to like Google it and it comes up, like, oh, what's this?
Yeah, and like a lot of it was just Mont Quicken Berserk game is over, so it's not really interesting gameplay either.
Right,
it's just all the same stuff. But shout outs to Loco 10, my new guild. It's been a good time. Shout outs to my old guild, Peacecraft, Zephyr Order. Y'all are good folks. Anybody that wants to scrib for CMs, I want to do that soon once I get Esther built.
Yeah.
Hit me up.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for joining us and sharing your experiences on the cast. I'm glad we were able to kind of deep dive into Esther too, because I know she's been really popular. And I think the three of us have like sort of a different, what is it? Not ideal. Yeah, perspective. Thank you. I also said idealism. That's not the right word at all. Jesus Christ.
Obviously, thanks for joining us live.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the chat. I think we got up to 11 or 12 was the peak today. It's definitely 11. I mean, it's what it is right now. But I think we hit 12 at one point. But
we're still trying to figure out whether morning or night is better for a bigger audience.
Yeah, originally morning was better because we were like, all right, we're going to force ourselves to get up on Sundays, get stuff going. We'll record while it's daytime. I can edit by the end of Sunday because I can't really do weekdays anymore. And, no Saturdays. But, yeah, we're figuring it out. And because of the live audience now, we may do it later. Just have to kind of see what the thing is. But I can't do it midday is the thing, so it's got to be one extreme. So, but yeah, I hope you all enjoyed. I've been Zach Burrell.
I've been Nanoboon.
And we'll see you next time.